Sagi's life spans Israel and New York, real estate and body work, deep loss and deep care. After a painful divorce and major legal losses, he turned deeper into his Buddhist practicing for healing and unexpectedly found love again. In this conversation, he talks very honestly about divorce, the cultural scripts that shape men, and the practices that have helped him rebuild a life rooted in peace, love, and compassion. We had a great conversation. Have a listen. Too many boys today feel lost, alone, and misunderstood. Too many parents feel the same. Behind today's troubling statistics is a generation of boys longing to be seen, heard, and valued. And yet the conversation around boys' emotional lives is still far too quiet. This new season of Unlocking the Parenting Code is here to change that. This season you'll hear more real conversations with young men, more expert voices on boys' mental health, more solo episodes where I share truths I've learned firsthand, and more wisdom from parents walking this road right now. It's time to open our eyes, open our hearts, and become the change our boys need. Boys aren't broken. They're waiting for us to truly see them, hear them, and stand with them. So tune in to Unlocking the Parenting Code for real conversations, real hope, and a new path forward for our boys. It's time. They're ready. Are we? Welcome back to Unlocking the Parenting Code, all about boys. I'm your host, Kathy, and today I'm welcoming Sagi Ayalon. Sagi was born in Israel and has spent much of his life between Israel and New York. He's the father of two boys, ages 9 and 7, and his journey as a parent has been shaped by both joy and challenge. After 15 years of marriage, he went through a difficult divorce that not only changed his family life, but also forced him to rebuild from the ground up, financially, emotionally, and spiritually. Sagi's career has taken many forms, from developing spas and tented retreats to working in real estate to his current work as a body worker and spiritual guide. Alongside these professional paths, he's also homeschooled his children, practiced permaculture and homesteading, and spent years exploring mindfulness, meditation, and Eastern traditions. Today, he describes his mission as helping people reconnect with themselves through touch, presence, and authentic conversation. What ties his story together is a search for freedom, resilience, and a deeper sense of home, both within himself and the lives of those he loves. Sagi, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Sagi, if someone were meeting you for the first time and wanted to really understand who you are, not just what you do, what would you want them to know?
Hmm. That is a good question. One that I don't know if I can answer in actual words, but I think the part that I most connect to when it comes to the practice and otherwise is that freedom, this feeling of true freedom, the joy of being. And whoever knows me know I'm a combination between like a young boy and a very old man. I have a very alive and spirited, and I still have very, let's call it old tendencies in me of balance and other things might be of wisdoms. And I think that is one of the form of that sense of freedom and joy that comes out of it.
What would you say are your core values?
Hmm. In what respect?
To life in general.
I think kindness is one of the bases. We all come from different background, different stories, different beliefs. We all essentially have a whole different world built. And all our worlds are connected, but our experiences create a unique world. And there is there's a thing about kind of respecting it and the compassion that comes from it. So some of the core values of that form of understanding, uh, deep care. It's kind of a form of love, like a parent love. Like in some of the stories of the Buddha, he explains this as a mother love. I tell it as a parent love. So like a parent loves his child, his only child. So he gives merit and joy and that kind of love for the rest of the world and all abiding for all living things. So the practice kind of like I walk the street today. I live in Manhattan. So you see homeless people, you see people from all walks of life. And I keep my heart open. I see them all as a part of myself, as a part of my family. This is my mother, this is my father, this is my friend. Me, just like me. So every person I walk, it's kind of like giving a blessing, something within you. So your heart doesn't forget to feel and stay connected. You don't become alone.
Beautiful.
Mm.
Okay, so let's start kind of at the beginning of well, it's not the beginning of your story, but the trying to understand a little bit of your background and
Yeah.
what's happened in your past. So you and your first wife, both were born in Israel, is that right?
No, she was born in Brooklyn and I was born in
Okay.
Israel.
Okay. So, but then afterwards you lived in New York.
Yes. I came to New York, we met, we got married, had the businesses later on, children,
What brought
and
you to
so
New
on.
York?
I was thinking where in the world to try. And it was back then, I think it was London or Manhattan. And when I came here to check it out, I met her and everything kind of one thing led to the other, and I ended up staying here. And I wasn't a big fan of Israel, to be honest, to begin with. So, and it was kind of nice moving here. Um, Today in the US, since other places I might will enjoy living even more in. But it was a really nice thing to not be in that country. My ways of looking and living, I think, were a bit different, and there was not as many opportunities to live a really open life there.
How old were you?
Terrible at exact age, but I think I was around 20 when I moved here. Mhm.
I mean, that's young to pick up roots, leave your culture.
I think
Um,
that's the best age to maybe do it because I had some roots, but I wasn't as attached and no kids, less obligations, easier to kind of try new things, easier. I guess I was adventurous in that way.
yeah, maybe. I left Canada and came to Japan, but I was 30. And it was
Hmm.
kind of like I already had, lived a bit of my wild life. I already had a bit of a career and it was starting from a different point that really opened doors of myself that I never knew I had those doors to open. But especially for a young man in the 20s, like the 20s are often from my experience of working with and befriending young men, um, the 20s can be the most challenging times. Like lots of young men get a little bit lost in their 20s, and understandably so, because developmentally they haven't finished, their brain hasn't finished fully forming, but yet society is expecting them to take on all the responsibilities of an adult. And the pressure and the just, not quite being grounded leads a lot of young men to having quite a turbulent time during those, especially the first half of the 20s.
I think my journey was a little bit different. I grew up maybe a little bit faster in Israeli society, and I did spend about a year in the army
Mhm.
and managed to get out of it by refusing some things and sitting in jail. Um, and I kind of always, for a long time, I knew my passion is around like fitness and health and touch. It's been an integral part, so it's easier for me to find a way. And business kind of made sense to me more naturally. So when people went and partied, and in Israel, there's a tradition that they go to like South America or India and make a long trip. I didn't do any of those things. I planned future. I arranged my business. I saved money. I took risks. Everybody told me I'm nuts, and they came to fruition. Because it's risk reward, and for me, it seemed to be like a good choice, and I'm happy I done so. So that was less of a challenge for me, I think. I think not as I didn't. Some people have parents that believe in them or people that support them. I didn't have any of the supportive structure. I kind of supported my parents once I started doing those things to a large degree.
What was your
Um,
relationship with your dad like growing up?
yeah, it was a complex relationship because he was absent a lot of the time doing work-related things. And when he was there was a lot of fighting. My household had a lot of arguments and yelling and screaming. And it wasn't very comfortable. I remember I always wanted him to be divorced, so not to be around that. And only with the practice, when I grew older, and my father also softened a bit with old age, I
Mm.
managed to connect, have a very deep, loving relationship with him that nobody imagined. Because like, I used to actually cuddle him and pet his hair and listen to stories, and knowing my dad, and it was just seemed unfathomable to even have that kind of relationship that I'm very lucky that I enjoyed having before he passed away.
Yeah, because sometimes those bridges aren't repaired. So that, yeah, you're very lucky that you were able to find that connection.
Definitely.
Okay. So I'd like to, because when I was trying to, in my mind, imagine your life from when you got married until you got divorced. You had said that things change with children. So if I figured out, you got married when you were around 22, 23, and you were together for 15 years. And the first part of it was without children. Like you were together for a fair bit of time without children. Is that right?
Correct.
So, what were those early years of marriage like before you became parents? And kind of like what role did you see you played as being the male of
Mm.
part of that team?
Especially in that point of life. Um, she had a lot of issues when I met her, and I kind of helped her build up in many ways. So I feel like I started with one person, and then that person grew in many ways, but also changed. Sometimes it didn't work. And I'm a person of a lot of affection, so my love language is touch and affection and this kind of showing of care. And it was very lacking in the relationship. And I was hoping with time it might change or manifest. It changed, but to the other degree.
Hmm.
And I ended up feeling very lonely because of that in the relationship later on. And many agreements that we agreed before, other things just couldn't keep, especially once children were there. And the children, for her, since she has a less of a capability of embracing and touch, and the children were taxing for her. There was too much. And so there was after that like very little room for me as a person in her life in that way. And for a long time, I was just like, it'll be something I'll be okay with. I will try to, take what I can from it. But we had some, later on, we had some breakage point. And I remember the conversation. I just don't remember exactly the wording. She kind of said something that if that part of me wouldn't change, she wanted me to perform in some ways. And if that wouldn't change in our relationship, she would think maybe taking a break. And I know it sounds strange, but for me, it kind of, in that moment, it shifted the whole relationship. Because for me, it was, even though I have my loneliness in the relationships and issues, I'm going to stick for this for life. And that kind of went in my head that like she would be willing to do something like this, and kind of took that kind of idea of safety and change it when I felt like that's no longer reality. And slowly that created my thing that maybe this is time to kind of move on. in those kind of ways because it wasn't really as healthy for me. She was quite happy in a relationship for her in many ways most of the time, but I wasn't fulfilled. Um, but I felt life, you do what you can. So like necessarily it's going to be better anywhere else. So that was a big shift.
So your relationship wasn't that smooth when you decided to have children, or were you hoping for something?
No, it had its stability. Back then, I thought we were going to stay. We had some things that could be better, but I feel like any relationship, but we had good communication. And it's kind of sad or weird to say in a way, but a basis of a relationship was certain kind of comfort. We all gave each other the space that we needed and the support that we needed. And that was like our biggest thing. Um, and when things changed and I changed, she changed, it was no longer as strong of a core, especially once you have children. I know different beliefs, different ways, different ideas about how doing things. So with time, it just kind of became wider and wider until sometimes you don't even, you get up next to the person, you're like, I don't really like that person anymore. Beyond that. And after a while, I was really afraid to do something because I'm afraid it can really change my relationship with my kids or something. But everybody assured me, I was like, people get divorced, it will be fine. You know, ended up not being the case. But mm. Relationship
Oh,
had its strengths and weaknesses, like I think many.
so okay, just before we talk more about the divorce, tell me
Mm.
what it was like for you, like emotionally and mentally and spiritually, when your two boys were born. Like, what did that do for
Oh.
you as a person?
In specific, I remember my firstborn more than anything. I remember because I've been through the whole process. I cleaned there and stayed there and everything. And once he fully got out and I held and I cut his umbilical cord and then put a clip on him, then I held him and he opened his eyes and looked at me. I felt like the whole world just froze for a while. It was very beautiful, very touching, and that connection that you see a human being in your hand, that you're part of that process. It was very, very emotional and very awakening. It was a beautiful process to be a part of.
Did that bring out any other, like really like a like passion? So so what I'm getting at is when our son was born, there were two things that really I didn't know that I was going to feel that strongly. But one was the feeling of protectiveness. Like
Mm.
I would have done anything to protect that little boy. But it was like almost overwhelming. It was so strong. But the other thing was this, like we all hear the phrase unconditional love, and it's kind of, oh yeah, you have connotations of it. And then this little human being comes out, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, this is what that means. And, there's no judgment. It's not like I will love you if, you make all A's or if you do this. It's like, boy, we're together, we're connected for the rest of both of our lives. So was there anything in you, like those were the two things that really I hadn't expected. I wasn't prepared for those emotions.
Mm. I think unconditional love existed in me before, and it's kind of strange. Like other people, kids, my kids, if I spend time and share, my love is free. It's everywhere, and I'm protective in general of people. And it's funny when you say protective because I remember the nurse was trying to do something. I was like, "No, okay, my, let me clean them and do things. Thank you."
Yeah.
um, so the protective part definitely. I think it's kind of almost ingrained. But the love part, I think it's maybe the serotonin is more of something that I don't experience that way. For me, it was just like a sense of great wonder and joy.
Mm.
But that love is just kind of flows out of me. So I think that motherly kind of attachment love thing, it perhaps can be more part of the childbirth and the whole process we go through hormones and that. I know some men can experience that in a similar way, but I can't think about specifically that kind of emotion flowing out of.
There's just recently I've been looking into fatherhood, and I didn't know that when your baby is born, if the father immediately attaches and stays very close, that their testosterone drops dramatically, and it will stay dropped for as long as they are very connected to their child. And
Hmm,
I never knew that before. And I thought,
never knew that either.
okay, but it doesn't like it makes so much sense because um like when you think about the role of testosterone and it lets us be more assertive, or some people would say aggressive, more competitive, like all those things. And when that drops, it's like it naturally just shifts you into this nurturing, um, that becomes more of your characteristics. So
Hmm.
you are more gentle. You like it makes sense. Like biologically, it makes a lot of sense, but I never knew it. And I always like once I heard that, it was like, well, and that men can go through postpartum depression just like women. I never knew that. And it's kind of like, well, if a man, a father with all these big things going on in his life connected with, a child coming into the world, if then things are changing hormonally inside that he's not aware of, it must be just very confusing to I, I just it's something that it's well, if this is happening, why don't we all know about this to
Hmm.
help with clarity during that time?
Like the science part and hormones can explain things, but some of the things are just what we do in our mind. So my testosterone could drop or not drop, but in my nature, because in my life, I've been nurturing so many people and giving so much love. So it's almost natural for me, like to hold, to be tender, to be gentle. Uh, so it becomes a second nature, regardless of my hormone. Well, hormones can be a indication of some things, of some ways. They're not for others. So for that reason, it's kind of it's an explanation. It might help, but I think if the person itself and his personality have not experienced those things as well, even if he feels those things, he would have a hard time truly showing them, truly expressing them, truly have the freedom. And many men, unfortunately, do not have that freedom, that privilege to truly connect because they have this idea of men. And as you said, sometimes it's competitive and it's tough and it's not showing. And it creates a kind of a dissonance. It's like a space, a lack of connection. Fortunately for me, that wasn't the path that I took in life. Like I learned sin from my father, and I did not want to go that path. Um, Education is always good, though. Opening the path to show the various ways is can be very good. If science explanation works, it works. But I think we need more than that. I, I think that we need the practice of care, compassion, of love. That is something we can call it the feminine energies, but the feminine energy can be in a woman or a man interchangeably or cannot be in the same way. Because it's something that it's like anything that you start doing for a while, so you practice it, and then with time it becomes naturally flowing from you. It's an element that we have as human beings.
I think sometimes there's not enough compassion for men,
Mm.
when they're going through, especially through challenging times, or times that there's more compassion for women than men. And I think that's just part of society that hasn't grown yet to what it means just to have a compassionate humanity rather than one side or the other.
I can understand, especially in our time, because it is kind of a pendulum, because men used to be overly, still and to some degree, very powerful. So it's hard to have that kind of feeling to something that's strong anyway, something that's not soft, doesn't need help. Why do you want to help puppies, babies, small? So that automatic feeling of compassion rise towards those things. But when you see a man, so you see homelessness outside, women usually get a lot more support. But the men, you see them everywhere, just thrown over the street. Most of them just severely mentally ill, no help. Um, but through society, the law system, everything, there is that feeling that men are not as valuable. Like in my situation, I felt like I don't even count as a person. There was even more discrimination because I practiced Dharma, because I'm a Buddhist and a really out of the way Christian place. They looked at me really oddly, like I'm insane because of compassion and such. And it's been quite a struggle to do even like there wasn't even basic human rights. You know, people talking about places far away and the lack of human rights and abilities, but very here in the US and other places, men are struggling. The suicide things for divorce, I look at the statistics, they are insane. There's a system that create competitive like combat between you have to engage in combat. And I was not willing to, and that has repercussions.
Yeah. Well, I keep wanting to hang on to divorce till I get these other things in a line.
Oh.
But um, like I'm not sure exactly what your situation is, but I do
Mm,
know of a lot of people who, have gone through divorce. I've known a few people that are in bicultural marriages.
mm,
And because of whatever the legal system was in their own country, there were definite um, challenges that came from that
mm,
that really seemed unfairly negative towards the males. Like it was an automatic thing that that
mhm,
the mother would get the majority of the custody, and if the mother wanted to live in that country, that was fine. And
mm.
but almost like the father was an afterthought in the whole
Yeah.
process.
Yeah, even if the law protects you, the law means nothing. If the judge is old-fashioned, he makes the law. The law doesn't exist. It's exactly what happened to me. Like in the law there, the primary parent's supposed to be able to keep the children because it's more comfortable for them. They want to care for them. And I was the primary parent. Everything was completely thrown out. More than that, there is a law to protect women that are abused in Washington state. That she can say pretty much anything, is tell them that she feels unsafe, and they will kind of take the person off. Usually do some investigation. But they done pretty much that. Like one day, I got a knock on the door, I have a restraining order to get out of my house. I don't need to drop my, because I had weapons, because we live in a big farmland. No, everything is fine. Keep everything. Just get out of there. Don't tell you why. Nobody expending anything. And and this is the divorce papers. Um, so the law that meant to protect stuff is done without wisdom and without care. So what happens is she got a lawyer because when I told her I think we should go through the process, she got a lawyer. I was like, what do we need? We could just fix paperwork. But once she figure out that she can do otherwise, it went down south from there. Like it went really bad. Like I was super surprised because we planned the whole thing. It was supposed to be fine, and she was very clever, and it was a small town, so she consulted to every lawyer. So I couldn't get a lawyer from the area, and nobody from outside wants to go there because old-fashioned. And so I couldn't get a lawyer. I couldn't fix a thing. I had a court date. I couldn't stay in my house. All my bank accounts were cleaned out. I had no access to. It was a whole thing, and I was struggling, and nobody cared, and it got progressively worse with time. What the law says, I was supposed to be fine, but in reality, nothing happened like that. Um, so I kind of learned that, things are what they are. And after struggling for quite a while, doing it for 6 months, really trying to stay so I can support the kids, I just couldn't. And if I stay there, I would just become a homeless person or grow mad. And I decided to, my father was sick at the time. So I just said myself, I'm going to take some time, spend time with my father and kind of balance myself. And the court was done online anyway, so I didn't have to be there physically anymore. And they decided since I went there that he doesn't understand me from so far away as well over the internet. And if I'm not coming back right there after a week I left, he's going to close the case. And I thought he was just saying things. But no, we actually just closed the case without my performance and just kids, completely her, all the other stuff. 98% of my property, we just pretend like it doesn't exist, so it goes to her. A property that worth over $1 million. He wrote that's worth $140,000, and she needs to pay me half one day, and so on and so on. So it ended up being what it is, and it was a really difficult time. You know, like you feel truly helpless in a way. It's like your whole life is running over, and I'm like, why are you doing this to me? I had to ask him. I was like, what is this? And he says he doesn't care. Finish the thing, and truly he doesn't care. You learn that your whole life. It doesn't matter if you've done something wrong and you've been truly like you've done your best in every possible way. Just a person, and he was in his I think 80s or 90s. He had like 4 assassination attempts in his life on people as a judge. I don't know why, how, but I didn't even get into it. But it was amazing. It was like I was literally not there. Like human life doesn't matter, and the children doesn't matter, just the ideas.
Yeah, that's
So
a lot of the, sorry, go ahead.
I had to just come to kind of realize to do what I can, and I had to let go.
I talk a lot about unconscious gender bias
Mm,
and that's kind of what it sounds like, is that even if the judge thought he was being fair or the system looks like it's being fair, it's still driven by unconscious bias that says, the man is something to protect from, and that they don't have the same they don't have the same emotional wherewithal that
mm.
women do. And so it doesn't matter quite as much, if yeah, that whole thing. But anyway, what often happens is that then, like, this happened to you at this age,
Mm.
and when from even a younger age, when things start showing a boy and then a man that he's not treated with that compassion or understanding, that's a really hard place to be in.
It can definitely be. Um,
So go ahead.
yeah, I said it kind of we learn a lot about rough realities in life. You know, like I live my life like pretty straight, and it's just amazing to me, like as a man or as anything else, regardless of those biases, how people can just a system or anything can just come and take your life with little care, with no investigation, with no need for truth, nothing. There's just no care. There's just next. What's next? It's a thing, and the person as well is a side effect of society. I don't think the judge lived all his life to come and do it to me personally. And that just tells me how many victims and
Yeah.
what is this circle of suffering that constantly exists there? How much that you never see a person, you never take any resources or time to actually investigate. There's nothing by procedure and opinion. And unless you know how to work that system, nothing else matters. It's not about you or fairness or anything. It's just about system, maintaining that system. And that person that's over there, because if he has that bias and is it, this is what you're going to get. And that person had no, I don't know what that was. I didn't even believe it was real when it happened. Because the changed judges, because in the beginning it was fine and it was something supposed to, then it changed and it was like done. There's no hope. It's completely gone. Unless I want to fight for another 2 years to another appeal that might change something in higher court in a situation that they gave me no options to survive there.
So do you get to see your boys
No,
regularly?
I have not seen or heard from them in almost 3 years.
Oh, that's painful
Hmm.
for everybody.
Yes, my concern was mainly for them. Well, she has a strength suit and other things. Patience and stability were not one of them. And, when kids have like the different things, she sometimes just left, sometimes with the gas open, just left the house, took the car, just couldn't deal, and just left. And I usually the one who stayed and dealt with the emotional stuff. And I just have, I'm sure they'll get figure things out one with the other. Kids are flexible, but I was kind of hoping that I can put more intake so the kids can grow up a lot stronger, more resilient, and with more kindness in them, the ability, and not continue. Because she came from kind of she had a very challenging history, and I, I really didn't want that to pass on. Because usually those kind of things pass on to generations, and some of those things did pass on. It sounds maybe silly, but like food is very like what we put in our bodies is very important for our health. And she had the tendency when she's stressed, eat a lot of sweet stuff. And she kind of inherited the kids that any gift or anything happened at all, just candy, candy, candy. And that was like a point of issue that we had between us. And later on, even as young children, had lots of cavities and issues, even though I brushed their teeth every time and all those things. And for a child, it's a little bit traumatic. Dentist, all the work, the more you're trying to make it more fun, they understand, but it's a young age.
So you homeschooled them for a while. What's that story? When I was raising my son, I longed for a guide, something real, honest, and grounded in what boys truly need. So I created the book that I wish I'd had, packed with tools and real world strategies that actually work. You'll learn how to nurture his emotional world and finally understand the feelings behind his behavior. Because boys don't need punishment, they need guidance. We'll bust the myths that keep boys boxed in and help you support him through the real challenges of growing up. Most of all, it's about transforming your connection, one small moment at a time. Raising boys who become remarkable men. Get your copy today and let's create a beautiful future together. Like, how old were they? How'd that come about?
Well, that was pretty much until I wasn't there. And came about that the fact I didn't want to put him in kindergarten or like a structure because they'll be exposed to other children and teachings that they necessarily agree with and other things. And I want them to just enjoy nature and learn things naturally. And they naturally kind of the ABC numbers, we just had fun playing with them. And they got them really, really fast, really young. And I wanted to choose the social behavior so they don't have to be stuck because I really had a lot of issues in school. And for me, it wasn't a great experience. And I wanted them to be able to be held in those ages and give them good influence so they can truly grow and have good roots. And since I have the patience and I love children and I enjoy spending my time with them, it's kind of a no-brainer. I had a lot of time. We had a beautiful property, nature to learn from, things to do all the time. And it's much easier to choose people to socialize with. Parents are more kind to the children. It's more like not teaching in those kind of a ways. It's more free. And it was a great experience. I loved that. The children loved that. We used to clean together, cook together. It's so funny because all of the parents that talk about cleaning, the kids running away, doesn't want to do things. My child was outside, he missed cleaning. He came back, he had a hissy fit. He was crying and upset because we cleaned without him because he was doing some activity as well outside.
So,
So
was
we had
your
to clean
wife
it.
on board with all of this? Was she part of this homeschooling system?
Um, she liked that idea and all the concepts around it. She was
Okay.
into it. But
Okay.
once I left, they got right into school because there was nobody to do it with them. So
Hmm.
once I left, whatever you want to call that. Um,
Okay. Yeah, you would almost think that that would bring you all closer as a family to have that intense relationship together.
you can spend time together, but some people get distracted. If we do stuff together, she wants to be by herself on the phone, but she can get away. Because she didn't like climbing on and doing stuff with me. She would try to do other things. She, for her, it was overwhelming to be a parent, overwhelming to be touched all the time and do this. For me, it was great. So, because they had a lack of her and all the time of me, as soon as she came available and tried to jump on her, she was like, too much, let's do something. So it was diverse because of it. We all have different abilities and inclinations naturally. Um, she is more of the perseverance and doing specific projects. She likes to organize it those ways. And I do this stuff outside, inside, but I'm more like playful and I love touch and love this. So I have the energy all day. I'm not getting tired. So it works better in that way. It comes to nighttime and usually this time I'm already sleeping.
Yeah. So how did it go from when the divorce happened?
Mm,
How did you then consider becoming a monk? Like what drew you to that path and then what took you off that path?
mm. So once I discovered the practice and investigated, spent so much time practicing doing the way, one of the clearest way of practice, the easiest way is to become a monastic. And I'm a part of a really loving, wonderful spiritual community, the Plum Village tradition. And it was kind of an inspiration, but it wasn't possible in this life. Was children, a wife, all those things. But when life completely broke and there was an option, and even before that, we discussed it, if like it depends on what's going to happen, that path kind of opened. So once I was in Israel and after my father passed away, that was kind of the next step. I was supposed to, I went there, I volunteered, spent a winter retreat and so on. And that was the next agenda for the next retreat. So I can join as a kind of procedure. And then I met my current wife and I felt like a teenager again. From a relationship of more convenience, that kind of space, a relationship of deep intimacy, love, and care that I was not expecting in any way, shape, or form. And even though it happened, it was still on the plan. She decided to still stay with me. But after it continued, we decided that we're just going to keep it lives as we can, and we got married and so on. And that was a huge surprise because I was not expecting to get married again or to start in this kind of relationship. It was a big, huge, huge surprise. Completely. You make plans in life.
And then God
Makes,
laughs.
yeah, it definitely left.
Yeah.
So I never thought I'd be in that kind of relationship and meet someone that's so right for me. And after all those years and so many people I met, like I don't know what that just happened. As soon as I'm ready to, take the step and join the community in that way.
Mm.
Uh, and here we are.
Interesting. Yeah. Yeah. Something that you wrote, you said you spoke about the prison of societal expectations for men. What did you mean about that? And then how did you like break free from that?
um, I guess I will start with a small story. When I was young, I was incredibly shy. And I was very more closed, more inward, and was I had hard time. I'm like dyslective. I have like dyslexia of different sorts. It's quite strong in many ways, the way it manifests. So it makes me feel more isolated in many ways. Communication verbally or even written is completely gone, but verbally is quite difficult. Thanks ChatGPT for allowing me to write these days. But because of that isolation, you become more observant of certain things. And I got to see things coming from the outside, like I'm an alien in of sorts, in a way. So in school, I was in a special class. In this, I was this. I was kind of always out of whatever's happening. And I think that's a part like I noticed a lot more things. And with time, I noticed all those, everybody's like playing a role. I remember I heard a Soli song when I was a teenager, but everybody's just like empty pictures, just running around. They're just kind of projecting constantly what they're supposed to, but there's nobody there. There's no, like when I talked to adults and such, there was no depths behind. There was nothing. I didn't find anything there. And it was very disappointing and even depressing at that age. And I never wanted to play all those different ideas of roles and things as a man. There's some influence like you can't help it because you live in society, you interact every day. It gets into you in various ways, but I just didn't want to be there. Girls, certain clothes, all the stuff is just it's just concepts of all those things are just clothes. It was just colors. And as human beings, we hold so strongly to them that if you see a man in a dress, it is what? Crossroads? They have names for it. It doesn't matter. If it's Halloween, it's fine. We have all kind of things in our mind with everything. And a man is just one of it's just a small thing, but so many conventions holding our lives. You know, you live in a different culture. You find that so many things are so important, but you do it other someplace else, it doesn't matter at all. This
Mhm.
is convention. And conventions are fine. We can respect them and understand them as people. But as soon as we go blind to them, we lose our freedom. You're not the person you are. You're a man or your behavior or you're trying to achieve something, but you lose this truth, this wonder within. Because none of us are truly men or women or anything. You just, when you look at me, you see the sight with your eyes. You can hear with your, the voice. And then your mind takes it and create aspects of this from it. Your whole experience is just those things. And later on, we create those ideas because of all this karma. Karma is causation. Because of all those causation, our history, our ancestors, this. But if we completely blind to them, we become a prison. And you imprison an idea of you're a man or you're a woman or what you're supposed to be and react to others, your sense of value and who you are. Your sense of value, like this is what I mean, true love, like true acceptance, this kind of unconditional love is meaning is you can just be what you are. All those ideas are great, but reality is what you are. And that's perfect. And just loving that and accepting that. And I think it's deeply lacking. A lot of people that I treat and I help, and even like I meet them sometime, like 12, 10 years later, and they tell me, like it was, and I thought it was just like nice. I help them with basic things, but they're like, you changed my life fundamentally. You're just acceptance and love and careful, just like this. I felt like I can just be, help me transform my life. I was in a terrible place. And to be honest, I wasn't even conscious of that to that degree. I help with specific things, but when you are able to give this kind of freedom to a person, because you just share what you've been given because of those, it creates beautiful freedom and we can flower. Because all of us as people, we want to be heard, listened, loved, careful. We want to feel that safety. And when we feel disconnected, we aren't able to. When we feel anxiety, we can't do that. If our heart is not open, if we're not a whole human being, feeling, emotion, perceptions, ability to be more than just this perception, expectations, even if you're not aware of them, that still affects
Sometimes more so if you're not aware because you're just playing the part. At least if you're reflective, you're choosing whether to participate or not.
you. You can be aware, but you not necessarily can create the change. That's what happened with basic addictions, anxiety, and other things. The people are aware of what happened, even if something hurts them, but they don't have the ability to change the response to those things because they can't see all the elements, all the things. That's why we need help because we can. It's a little bit difficult when it comes to ourselves to handle all of those things, I believe.
So how, excuse me, how much do you think the online world impacts this kind of prison?
I think even us, but even more so young ones, uh, when we're younger, we have like influences, different people, things we experience. But now it's so universal. But what takes our attention usually, it's not things of wisdom or wonder or growth. So we'll become super uniquely engineered in different genres, and they're more narrow than wide, surprisingly, even though the internet exists the way it does. And I think we're losing our ability to truly communicate with ourselves and others, to be bold and investigate like what we are. I think there's a lot more loneliness because there's no sense of community and true connection because we all connected online, but we are still human animals, human beings. We need this feeling and connection, and we need to have the challenge, the kind of. all those things. I think some of them are just becoming very underdeveloped, and I feel really compassion for the coming generations right now because they're having so many challenges with the young ones I see, with loneliness, depression, anxiety, lack of connection, and aimlessness. They just don't know what they're even supposed to be in this world, where they stand in any way. Women, men as one. They feel lost.
Yeah. Yeah, very much so. So, okay, so now I'm thinking a little bit more about parents. So, for example, with your boys, like how can parents, you know, intentionally parent their boys so that they don't end up in one of these, prisons of society, that they can think more compassionately about life and about masculinity and relationships and
Mm.
emotions. Like how do you think we could do that?
I think that's a bit more complex. Because first, we need to be able to liberate ourselves to a degree, or at least be aware and creating some process. Otherwise, even if you're the best parents, the best of intention, and the most love, children, kids, everybody, they will listen to your words, but they see your actions, they see your the way you feel, the way you move, the way you act. It influences them deeply. So this is a huge amount of communication. So to do stuff as a family together is great. To be have the patience and gentleness to do so. And also children just like you, we don't know everything, and they not either. Have that kindness that you're not forcing them anything. This is something that is again gentle and understanding. It's a communication. I'm a parent, but my child teaches me, and I teach him that there's always this will. There's a respect, a deep respect for the child. You see what is his abilities or not, and you do your best. You don't have to be perfect. We all do all the things, the right and wrong, or whatever in the middle. But this is how you keep the intention alive, that kindness. It's the same practice. You just kindness and you feel, and it really helps us because when challenging time comes, we don't go to some of the default mode of, I'm a parent, I'm stronger, I can yell or I can do whatever and force you. Because this is when children lose the trust, I think, in adults. When we start being too serious and we think we know, when we can't listen anymore. When our desires, even if they're good or bad, when our desires blind us to the person, it's a person, it doesn't belong to us. We simply trying to put it in the world the best way we can. It's important to remember that, I think. If we can practice that, then we can elevate the children to have the freedom because they will have trust in us and in themselves. They will have the tools, giving them tools like to learn, to study, to grow in wisdom, giving them activities, away from technology that are beneficial, that are joyful, finding out what they truly love, developing passions to things, and creating that repetitiveness towards that passion. There's many, many ways to kind of connect and create those things. It could be as simple as doing dishes together or having complex hobbies or teaching things for future.
It almost seems like society has developed this idea, perhaps because parents are more busy outside of the family than, generations ago. And there's almost this push so that children's time is kind of all scheduled and all for very, parents, I believe, really do the best, what they think is the best for their children. So they
Hmm.
will plan the after school sports club and the after school drama club and the special math club, and maybe they'll have a French club. But inevitably, the children are spending less and less time with parents, and their amount of unstructured time, especially in nature, is greatly reduced. So I worry about those children.
Mm.
And so it's almost like for the future that's coming, I don't think any of us have any idea what it's going to be like in 10 years or 15 years. It's just not possible. It's all changing too quickly. And
Mm.
yet, I think, like when we first started, and I asked you about your, core values,
Mm.
I think for parents, and of course my focus is boys, but it would be any child, that because we don't know the future, that's what our focus maybe should be, is that we make intentional choices about how we raise our children with a moral compass, and that we, spend more time with them so that the things that are important, like understanding and respect and compassion and empathy and honesty, all of those things, they not only hear it, but they see you modeling it.
I can completely see that and understand it. Reality, though, is diverse. For some children, it's better to be in those places. Some parents do not have the tools or abilities at the moment to do it. So, like, reality is complex. I can talk about me. I was very privileged because of the steps I took. I was able to be financially secured. I was able to be emotionally secured. Spiritually, I built something, and so on. So I had so many privileges, and I talk from that place. Yes, I built myself and done all those work. But in the end of the day, there's a lot of people that are just struggling to get by month to month, and the mind is just not open for those places. And like this program of volunteering here, like Big Brother in New York and other things that I work with children. And this is something great. Everybody can give and do. And if you can't do it at home, it's okay to do it for a place that you believe your children can benefit more from. Love is doesn't have to be only about what happens here, because the family in the world is big. We're always dependent on others for electricity, for food, for clothing. Everybody's constantly helping us. We just can't see it anymore because we're so close in our little bubble most of the time. But without this, we are not alive. We can talk through this. This is a miracle. Look at technology, all this wonder. People can find this information, listen to it. It's amazing. And it's all thanks to everybody's hard work, all this collaboration that has occurred in so many different levels. So we lost kind of the village mentality in many ways, and this is kind of what we like. But there is a larger village, there is different things, and they can meet amazing people, and hopefully they will be able to meet good example and good people along the way and learn. And I believe every parent needs to see the strength and weaknesses and choose what's best for them at the time. I love to say like my style and thing, but every situation is so different. Every person is so different. And I
Oh,
want the
it's
people to have,
complicated.
yeah, to have the time and wisdom to find for themselves what is best for them. What I think it's best for this perspective, this kind of experience, but for somebody else, it might be something completely different.
That's very true. One last question. So, like when you think you seem to be very reflective, and you seem to have an understanding of yourself. So, someday down the road, when your children, your boys are older, independent, and,
Mm.
perhaps reestablish a relationship with you, what part of your inner life, like your emotional life, what is it that you hope that they understand about you?
Mm. You know, we kind of think about it as an inheritance. If something I can give them to continue is that peace, that joy, that care. They'll be able to fully live their life through it and truly live a joyous life. Because belonging, success, ideas, all those things that we sell otherwise, all those things have the value, but it's a fleeting value that doesn't really hold well. So to show them like the true basis of happiness and joy is within them, to show them they have the true power already within, to find and explore it, and from that grow their life to whatever makes them shine beautiful. I think that is, if I can give them any gift, it's that gift. And when I was there, constantly we have like songs, I pick berries and give to each one a berry, like one at a time. I feed them and all. And it's always like sharing is caring. Everything is just done with the joy and openness of care. And I don't need to tell them, oh, care for your body, do this. As soon as I turn around, you're gonna see him pick, and sharing is caring. And this is what happens. It's because it's they see, they feel the joy, they feel the love, they feel the care. When you truly live something, it's much easier to share. And if I could share something, it's that with anybody, my children or any other of my children in the world and people, that I see that everyone is my parents, my friends, my lovers. We are all just huge family. Anybody I can give this kind of love, this kind of light to share with them. That is all I'd be happy to do.
Well, that's a beautiful aspiration for sure.
Mm. Thank you.
Sagi, before we finish today, is there anything that we didn't talk about that you wish we had
Nothing specific that I can think about right now, but my brain might be a little bit tired.
of? Well, I think it's quite interesting that, you're finishing up your day. My day's, well, I'm in midday. I'm just at
I
noontime right
see the
now.
beautiful sun there in the grass, the tree.
It's hot. It's still hot. It's in the mid or just below mid 30s with humidity around 90%. It's
Oof,
still
tropical
very,
life.
yeah, well, it's a little unusual for September. It's usually a little cooler, but it is beautiful. I'm not complaining. I'm not complaining. What about if people wanted to contact you or, connect with some kind of work you're doing? Where should they look? Where should they go?
Um, where should I look for the work? Actually, most of the work I do now is individuals within the kind of groups that exist, but we can exchange information if people show interest, they can do this because I don't currently too much advertise outside.
Do you
Um,
have a website?
no, that's what I mean. I don't do
Okay.
almost any kind of advertising. Um, since I had the spot all things before and my connection in the Switch community, things kind of come.
So how would they connect with you if they wanted to?
I will be able to give you an email. I think that would be the best way
Okay,
to
so
connect
then
with me.
maybe people should. So do you want that email
Sure.
in the
Yeah.
show notes?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'll make sure I put that in the show notes for people.
Sounds good.
Um, I know how precious time is, and I hope that you feel I honored yours today. And it's been a real pleasure to speak with you. And I'm sure that there are some insights in your story that can positively impact someone else's life. So thank you very much, Sagi.
My pleasure. Thank you. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you. You have a good evening too. And thank you to our listeners for joining in on Unlocking the Parenting Code, all about boys. Be sure to check out Sagi's link in his email in the show notes below. And don't forget to subscribe, share, and tune in next week for more conversations about boys and men. Thank you for sharing your time with me today. Every conversation we have here is a step toward raising boys who feel seen, heard, and deeply valued. If you're looking for more support on this journey, I invite you to visit me at sonhoodcoaching.com. You'll find a link in the show notes. And as always, thank you for being part of this important movement. Until next time, take good care.